Dios mío, no es una broma. 22.12 trillones, sí, escuchaste bien. Un número masivo que podría significar buenas cosas para el mercado criptográfico. Solo no, tal vez, esta noche. Hola, hermosas personas. Saludos, monedadores. Como se esperaba, el mercado criptográfico sigue vendiéndose. XRP está abajo, Bitcoin está abajo, Ethereum está abajo, Solana está abajo. Todo el mercado, fuera de los pocos, muy únicos, están en el verde. Ha sido una muy interesante 24 horas, con un poco de un pre-sale antes de que los números de inflación salieran. Y luego se espantó y se vendió. Y fue un día muy extraño, pero no tan extraño si lo piensas, porque es Friday Freaky. Y Friday Freaky, ya sabes cómo es. Friday Freaky puede ser muy, muy extraño. Alguien dijo en la sección de comentarios, eres gufista. Así que escribí, sí, soy un tipo gufista. Y también tenemos algunas noticias no tan sorprendentes de Canadá. Y sobre la economía canadiense, si eres canadiense, sabes de lo que estoy hablando, tal vez, pero no realmente ayudó a los mercados. Y así estamos acercándonos con XRP a un señal bajista. Hablaremos de por qué esto no es tan sorprendente y por qué podemos buscar una línea silvera adelante. No, sé, espero que te hayas metido en el gimnasio este verano. Y no, sabes, como yo, crecí un poco de guacamole. Así que actualmente el mercado está abajo. Tenemos XRP abajo de 5,5%. Actualmente está a $2.80. Bitcoin está abajo de 108, 389. Desde que obtuvimos ese señal de venta de 1348. Indicador EMA. Bitcoin sigue market was I think, selling off into that long stock market. There's no trading on Monday, so it's a long weekend for the stock market. And we've seen this before when we have sell-offs towards the weekend. It's the end of the month, option contracts, monthly option. Well, actually, in the stock market, it's the contracts. The monthlies don't expire on the last Friday. It's the one before that. It were expires, but it is Friday in general. There's weekly contracts that expire on Friday, and then there's the monthlies that expire on not the last, the one before. But still, Freaky Friday, and we're seeing the market pull back. We did get the data from the Fed. Sorry, it's not the Fed data. It's the PCE inflation data. It's the Fed's preferred inflation measure, which rose to 2.6 in line with expectations of 2.6. Core PCE inflation rises to 2.9. This was all an expectation, but it's now the highest since February of 2025. So rate cuts are coming, but inflation is going up. You go to the probabilities, we're still at 84.4%, so nothing's really changed there. If you go and you look at the 1-minute chart here, to when the data came out, it's very interesting, because the first few minutes, when the data came out, XRP popped here, it went up all the way to 291. It wasn't just XRP, of course, it was also Bitcoin that popped up there. And then, in the few minutes after, it just started selling off. And I think it was initial, that is okay. It was on par, it got bought up there, and then suddenly shenanigans and sell off. So it was very interesting. If you go like to Yahoo, it says stock slide ending fourth winning month lower. Investor sentiment tumbled as the Fed favored inflation gauge ticked higher and consumers grew wary of raising prices. So, on the one hand, people were like, oh well, it was in line, but then I guess the market started thinking about it and said, wait a second, but inflation is still going up. So even if the Fed does reduce interest rates, that might not be a great combination. Then we got information that Canada, so you can see this came out at 3:49 my time, which is about a few minutes after, right when this happened. So this was a few minutes later, and we started seeing that sell-off. We did see Canada's economy. Economy, what did I say? Anacomy? I don't know. Economy declines 1.6 annualized in Q2, the biggest drop since the pandemic, right? So not looking good, right? And that is something that maybe scared the markets a little bit as well. So we had those two things, combining together, not combinating, combining together, and creating that sell-off. So, interesting day. Again, this is more, day-to-day stuff. Remember, as always, I don't know what day to day what's going to happen, similar to what happened with the PPI last week or the week before, or forget already. I think it was last week where we had the bad PPI. And then we sold off, and it was 2 weeks ago. And we're seeing that same similar of a sell-off today. Actually, even similar in like value if you take the open. Yeah, 5% is the same kind of thing. But it was tricky because we were so happy after the PPI and it was coming up, and then we sold off. Similar here. Something that we need to watch is the 1,348 EMA is about to cross over from the top to the bottom. We might get a sell signal here for XRP. So this is something that we need to watch. Bitcoin already got it. Ethereum is kind of far away. Solana is far away as well. But XRP is in risk here of getting a sell signal. We haven't had a sell signal since back in June, beginning of June, where we had this signal here. But we'll see. We'll see how this reacts. It could be a negative thing here. We'll see how the market reacts in the next few weeks, few days. Again, this is how the market is reacting right now to the news. We'll see. Maybe it changes over the weekend. As always, I'll never tell you to buy, to sell, or to hold, because I don't know what's going to happen day to day. I don't know what the inflation data is going to be. I don't know how the market is going to react to that. Of course, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Very, very important. Okay? Now, let's talk about the current situation with the US M2 money supply surge 4.8% year over year in July to a record of 22.12 trillion. This is also the 21st consecutive monthly increase. Growth has accelerated since July of 2024, when M2 rose just 1.6%. By comparison, the long-term growth rate has averaged 6.3%, largely driven by the pandemic period. Meanwhile, inflation-adjusted M2 money supply rose 2.0% year over year last month, the largest increase since February of 2022. US dollars purchasing power continues to erode. And we have the situation where the M2 continues to grow. It continues to grow in the US, continues to grow in China, and we know that theoretically, we've seen Raoul Pal mention it multiple times about how the M2 and crypto and Bitcoin have a pretty strong correlation. Although there is now a little bit of a detachment, but we have seen detachment in the past, and we could see it recorrelate soon. But in the short term, again, things are not looking great for the next week or two, but maybe it flips, maybe it changes. So be ready for every single scenario.